Hi guys, welcome back to the Big Sew Along. I'm Ginny and today we are finishing up our Diane Ericson O'Keefe shirt dress sew along. And I have to A, apologize to all of you, and B, thank Janice, because last week in our sew along I put the sleeve in incorrectly. And if you put your sleeve in the way I did it last week, you will have a giant lump at the back of your arm, and you'll think that A, there's something wrong with the pattern, or B, there's something seriously wrong with your body. Since that is the second time in recent history that I've had a big lump on the back of my shirt or jacket, I definitely thought that there was something wrong with me. And then about an hour or two after I tried it on, I sewed it in, I tried it on, I saw what it looked like. I was like, what is going on? So I put it aside. I just forgot about it. I went about my business, and a couple hours later, I looked at my YouTube feed, and Janice had left me a message that said, the seam in that sleeve does not go at the bottom where the seam of your shirt is. And then as soon as I read that, I remembered, I did read the directions twice. I remembered that, and not only did I read the directions twice, I actually had them sitting open on my table while I was working that day. Anyhow, so I messed it up. So the very first thing we're going to do today in our tutorial is fix that sleeve. Okay, I do have some other stuff to talk about today that isn't related to the tutorial, but the tutorial takes up a little bit of time, so I'm just going to get that out of the way, and then I'll come back. So if you're not following along with the tutorial, just check the timestamps below and come back and meet me at the end, and we'll chat some more about some other stuff. Okay, now let's go to the tutorial, starting with a fix on that sleeve. So last week when we put the sleeve in, I said to match this seam of your sleeve to the side seam of your shirt, and this notch to the shoulder. However, I was completely wrong. There are, if you look at this, next to this seam in your sleeve, you'll see two notches. Those actually match to the two back notches in your shirt. I actually marked mine right here with a pencil, so I don't know if you'll see them, but they're there. The single notch on this side matches the front here. That means that this seam right here should run down the center of the, more or less the center of the back of the arm. So there is one other mark, and on mine I just used a little dot, and I think that should be the shoulder seam. So when you put it in, if you did the dart in the sleeve, it should be pretty close to the center of the bottom of the sleeve. The important thing to remember is that this seam of the sleeve goes to the back side of the shirt. So now we're going to do it the way we should have done it last week. Okay, so it should look something like that. Now we can go ahead and sew that in and finish off this seam however we like. I'm going to serge mine, but you can see, well, you're not going to be able to see here, but you can see how I've eased that in all the way around. It's mostly the cap of the sleeve, which is what she says. My easing did go a little bit below that. The next thing we're going to do is put our collar on. And before we go any further, let me just say that this is my collar piece. I have the center back marked. There should be a couple of other notches on here. Mine, of course, have been erased, so I'll replace them in a second. But if you're not using the back facing, there's a back facing, and you're going to need to use that if you're making the collarless version. If you're making any of the collar versions, you don't really need to use the back facing piece, but if that's the case, you need to finish this raw edge of your collar. You can see how I've done mine with the serger. The other thing is we need to have a mark at the center back of our shirt right here, and you need to mark, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I have marks at the fold line, which is the center front. And then we're going to put our collar on like this. I'm going to right sides together. And right sides together. I'm going to pin my center back. This edge needs to fit right here at this, at your center front mark. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that there. And then you can see it's not going to be, my fabric has got a little lycra in it, so it's a little bit stretchy, but you're going to have to ease this in. And I have a feeling that for most of us, we're going to need to put a few notches in the shirt edge, just like that, to get it to lay nicely in there. Don't make them too deep because your seam allowances are only 1/2 inch. And then we're just going to ease this in. Actually, that was kind of dumb because we need to finish this raw edge of the shirt as well. I'm going to go ahead and finish pinning my collar in so I can show you, and then I will go finish that. Alternatively, I suppose you could put the collar in and then finish those edges together. Just don't trim anything off of the edge because you're going to need it over here. And my 2 marks that are missing, I am pretty sure matched up with my shoulder seam. So I'm just going to put my pattern piece back on here and make sure I've got that right. And then I'm going to stitch this down. And since I already have this on here, I'm going to go ahead and just serge that whole edge again. Okay, so that is our collar on. You can see these marks are for my buttonholes for later. So the next thing we need to do is put our facings on. And we are going to do that. So just for reference, if you're doing the facing with the accent, I think it's best to go ahead and press this edge over on the fold line. You'll see it marked on your pattern, but it's also the edge of your interfacing if you followed the pattern. Oh my god, I cannot get this camera right. Okay, there we go. Alright, so what we're going to do is, regardless of which facing you're using. Oh, the other thing is, you guys, if you're using the accent facing, just be aware that you have 2 separate facing pieces. The accent piece is bigger than the other one, so don't cut 2 of the same facing. You just need 1 of each piece. Okay, so this is the accent piece, and I am going to go ahead and sew your collar is going to go fold back to the back side like that. And let's put this on here like this. You can see this little notch right here is your center front, and it is matching up with my center front there, so just make sure you've got that right. I'm going to put a pin right there. And then I'm going to continue on down this way. Okay, I obviously forgot to finish the edge of my facing. Forgetting a lot today. So if you haven't done that already, go ahead and finish that edge and then put it on. You can do it after, but it's obviously easier to do it beforehand. So now for the neck, we're going to do the same thing we did with when we put the collar on. We're just going to fold it right along here. If you're using the back facing piece, this will continue all across the back. Okay, now I'm going to go back and finish the edges of both of my facing pieces. And then we are going to do the exact same thing to the facing on the other side. And then we're just going to stitch this down with our 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, I'm working on the other facing now. I just want to point out that because this is really curved, again, I ended up putting like a few notches in the edge to get it to ease in better into the neckline. Like that. And then also you're going to want to be careful. I mean, if you've sewn your collar in instead of basted it, which is what I did, you're going to want to be careful that this stitch line matches up with the one you already have so that you don't have two stitch lines. You don't have a stitch line showing outside, like on the back of your shirt. So I'm just going to line my pins right up with that stitch line, and that should help. I suppose ideally it would have been better to just baste that collar on, and that way if any of the stitching showed, you could just pull it out, which I suppose I could still do. But okay, I managed to mess up again, so you guys don't have to. If you're doing the accent facing, you're going to want to sew this long edge on first, and then you're going to fold it back on itself. Let's put our collar back down this way. You're going to fold it on the fold line, back this way, right there, like that. And then sew it the rest of the way around like we did on the other side. If you don't do this, your accent piece is going to be an accent all the way up until the neck, and then it disappears because you've sewn it under like I just did. Okay, just going to do this again, and then we'll be back. Okay, so that's our facings pretty much finished, but before we sew this down, we are going to go down here to the bottom near the hem, or at the hem, where we have our little slit, and we're going to press in a couple of things. On these two little side edges, you're just going to press this over your seam allowance, so it's 1/2 inch. On this one, I have this edge serged already, so I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm not going to fold it twice. On this side, you can see I haven't serged that because I don't have the right color. So I'm going to fold it over once and then fold it under and press it down. Then, in the directions it says to go ahead and sew this down and then fold this up for your hem. I don't like doing it that way because you end up with this little hole here, which is not a big deal. And if you don't mind that, then go ahead and do that way. What I like to do is to open this up. You can see I've also finished my hem raw edge, and I've also pressed my hem up already. That's important to do first. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to open out those folds like that, and I'm going to fold my hem up along that fold line on the right sides together. And I'm going to go to the sewing machine and stitch this right here. Right along that fold line. Just from there to there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side if I can find it. Open the fold out. Fold your hem up right along that fold line for your hem. So right there, and then we're going to stitch this right in that fold line. Then on our front edge, this is our front edge. This is the one with the contrast edging. You can see I'm going to open that facing out like this, and I'm going to fold it to the front. And just be careful on this one that you're not folding on the seam line, you're folding it on the crease line. On the other side, you'll just be folding it right along that seam line. But on this one, because we have the contrast sticking out a bit, you want to be sure you're folding that on the fold line. So like that. And this one, we're going to stitch again, right in the crease. This is the crease of our hem line. And we're going to stitch right across there. Okay? Once we've done that, I'm going to go back to this side where I have already done it. On the slits, I'm just going to trim this out a little bit. Same thing on this side. We're going to turn those to the right side. Like that. And you're going to want to give them a good press. And then you can go in here and do your little stitching right along this edge. You can do it either by machine or by hand, whatever you like. We're going to go along this edge here. And this edge here. And you don't have to go all the way up your shirt. Just make sure you just want this part that's in the slit sewn down so it doesn't flap out. And you can see now you've got a nice closed edge there. You do still see this, so if your serging is a different color like mine, you may prefer to do it the other way, or just fold it under. For the front edge, it looks like this, and we're going to turn this right side out like this, but you don't want all that bulk in there, so let's just go ahead and trim that out. Now, I'm going to leave a little bit on this hem side. Hope you can see that. See how I didn't cut it all the way to my facing? So that when I turn it to the inside, that bit will get caught underneath my facing. All right, so now just turn it right side out. I might need to trim that down a little bit more. Now, you can go ahead, press this flat, make sure it's all nice and even, and sew your facing down, and then you can go all the way around your hem, which we already have pressed in, and sew that down. Alright guys, and that is our O'Keefe shirt. Facing sewn down. The only thing we have left is to add your buttons or snaps if you're going to use snaps. I have this too far up again. I don't know if you can see this. I've actually started my buttonholes here. However, I haven't opened it yet and I just did the one. These are the buttons that I had. I'll probably wear it more like this. But I'm not sure if I like that or if I think it's just too kooky. So let me know what you guys think, and that is it for our O'Keefe shirt. Okay, so there you go. That is our O'Keefe Sew Along done and dusted. A couple of things about this particular pattern. First of all, thank you again, Janice, for pointing out that I did that sleeve wrong. I did know how to put it in, and I just totally forgot. It was like it went in one ear and right out the other. Aside from that, so you guys know I was also working on, last week the one I was working on was a black and white polka dot. I have put that aside for the moment because I really am not liking the way it's looking. And I'll tell you why. I chose to do the shawl collar on that version. The shawl collar does not fit into this neckline the way it is, or maybe it does. I feel like I need to make my neckline a little bit more of a V to get that shawl collar to fit nicely, and also because that's the way it looks nicer, I think. Otherwise it comes up like, just comes up too high. Anyways, the bigger issue though, I mean the colors is nothing, that's easy to fix. The bigger issue is I think that that fabric is just, once again, the wrong fabric for this pattern. It's just too stiff. It's the volume, I did reduce some of the volume in the back, and even that, I'm not liking the way it's hanging. And it is not the pattern because I really like it in the shirt version, which is a very lightweight cotton. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to salvage that. I love that fabric, and I'm going to salvage that. I think I'm going to use a vintage Diane Ericson pattern I have, and I can alter that to be a vest. So we'll see how that goes, but that's my plan for that. At the end of the tutorial, I think I put some buttons down on this shirt. I'm going to show you another picture of it here. I'm not sure if I like the buttons or not, you guys. I put one buttonhole in already, but I didn't cut it open, so I can still remove it. So let me know if you like the buttons or if you think I should just do snaps and have it plain on the front. I can't decide. So all in all, I had some issues with just getting through the pattern. It was obviously not the pattern itself. It goes together perfectly fine if you can remember how to put things together, which I clearly have an issue with sometimes. Aside from that, it went together really well. I really, really like this contrast detail on the side and on the collar. I think I probably will make this again. I think for a first effort, this was really good, and I really liked it. So yeah, that's my whole story on the O'Keefe shirt dress. Okay, so aside from the sew along, what do I have to talk about? I don't know if I'm going to tell you what I'm wearing today, and I think I've shared this with you guys before. This is my, oh, you know, the other thing I was going to talk about the O'Keefe is, I showed you some pictures here, and I'm not sure I have anything to wear this with. I have it on today in these pictures with black pants that I purchased from a woman at a local art fair a while back. I'm not sure I like it with black. I don't know. Anyways, if you have thoughts on that too, let me know. Okay, so now back to what I'm wearing today. This is the Trish Newberry Lockdown Lounge top, and I'm wearing it with my Pattern Emporium Friday Feels tube skirt. The top is a silk twill from Fields Fabrics, and the skirt is a really very cool stretchy, like micro rayon viscose spandex something. It's super cool. I got it from Latoff Fabrics quite a while ago, but it's one of my favorites. Okay, that's it for that stuff. So yesterday, or the day before, I can't remember, I took a class online with Allison Company Patterns, and I can't remember if you guys, I don't know if you guys will remember. I took a couple of classes with Allison Company like during lockdown. So 2020, I may have taken one in 2021. I really like Alice and her daughter, whose name eludes me at the moment. But this class is on the history of fashion, and it's a series. I don't know how long it's going to go. But this one that was just last week was about ancient times, and they go over a bunch of like some historic stuff. Not like, if you're a fashion historian, this is not for you. But if you're someone like me who's like interested, likes to sew, I think you would find it really interesting. And then at the end, they talked about clothing from ancient times made from squares and rectangles, and they go over a whole bunch of different ways you can use simple squares and rectangles. Anyways, like I said, they're doing a whole series of these classes. If you guys are interested, I don't think it was very expensive. I think it was £20 UK or something like that, so it's a little more than that. It might have been $22 US, but it was for full 2 hours. It's a live Zoom class, but you can also just watch the recording, which is what I had to do because I was actually working the day that it was live. Anyways, I really, really enjoyed it. I got a ton of ideas. I wrote them all down. I have like, you won't be able to see this, but I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 12 different ideas for garments to make from simple squares and rectangles, and I'm going to be playing with that I think for this next coming week. So hopefully I'll have something in the squares and rectangles camp to show you guys next week. But I will leave a link to the Allison Company website below, so check out their classes if you're interested in that kind of thing. I think that I just signed up for the one class, but I think I will go back now and sign up for the rest of them because I really, really enjoyed it a lot. the other thing is Karen and I have been trying to find patterns. Karen, who's another viewer, sorry. Sometimes I just say somebody's name and you guys are probably like, who's Karen? Karen's one of our viewers. She and I have been talking over Facebook Messenger. We're trying to find patterns to use for replicating some of the clothes from the Slow wardrobe. And a lot of you guys have recommended that I watch the Slow wardrobe. I think, what's her name? Is it Linda? I can't remember now. Anyways, I'll link her channel below, because if you're not familiar with her and you like log and look and you like sewing, I have a feeling you'll like her stuff. She does not sell sewing patterns. She sells clothes. But she has a very distinct style, and Karen and I have been trying to find some patterns that would accommodate some of those styles. So we've come up with a few. I'm going to make a list of those and go over them next week. But if you guys have any suggestions for any patterns that sort of fit that Slow wardrobe style, let me know in the comments below, because I'd be really interested in taking a look at those. And you guys, I think that's it for me this week. Thank you so much for your patience with my mess up on the sleeves. I really appreciate it. More than that, I really appreciate that you guys show up and spend a little time with me every week. It really does mean the world to me. And that is it. Until next week, happy sewing.